Warning, this is not a fitness podcast. Strong, Fit for Business is a business success podcast seen through the lens of physical and mental fitness. What lessons about success can we learn from staying fit? How can we stay strong in both? I'm not a fitness expert or health professional. Don't take any advice just because you heard it here, be it fitness or business. But you can take insights and inspiration from the business leaders who share their fitness journey with us. I know I will. Welcome to Strong, Fit for Business. Hello, everybody. My name is Vikram Rajan. I am the host here of Strong, Fit for Business. I am the co-founder of Video Socials, a video blogging community, which is how I know today's guest, Sean O'Rourke. I'm looking forward to kind of hearing his business lessons and fitness lessons. So without further ado, Sean, I'd love for you to introduce yourself, what you do at Combs & Company. I don't know if there's a fitness metaphor or analogy you can use of how you serve your clients, how your clients benefit from the work that you do for them. Is there any kind of way of tying in fitness analogy in there?
I'm sure there will be. I mean, what I do at Combs & Company is quite varied and has changed over the last decade. I've not always been in insurance, and I think my previous life in technology is probably more akin to a fitness/sports journey because it's a 24/7 business. So you're always prepping. You're always ready for the unexpected, which you get in any kind of fitness or sports journey,
Sure.
which for me started, I think, when I came out of the womb. My mom has a apocryphal story that my first word was ball. And so there are pictures of me at quite a young age. I think even before I could walk, I could throw a ball. So my fitness journey started then and there. And I think that's helped in business, that you know how to fight through adversity. You know how, when you're tired, where you could draw on some reserve mental or physical energy just to keep you going. And I think those are, especially now that competition is global and things from a technological standpoint are changing minute by minute, which makes things more challenging, trying to see where you can go in the future and how best to train yourself to get there.
So you were into sports literally from day zero, from birth practically. So talk to me about that. So what did you play growing up?
Anything and everything.
Okay.
I mean, it was just the first sports were ball-based sports. I didn't grow up in a time where hockey rinks were closed, but that was my first love, was hockey. And so I played in an era when you had ball bearings and metal wheels and four wheels on skates, and you went out in the street, and then you would scream, car, CAR, stick your head in the jam jar. And when the car would come by, and you'd have to move the nets and get out of the way, and you'd be upset because you had a breakaway that didn't last because you didn't want to get hit by a car. So, yeah, I mean, it started, I focused on tennis throughout high school, and then went to college and got back into playing anything and everything. And that's kind of what I still do.
And so that's a combination of like team sports and tennis being a little bit more solo. Sometimes with doubles it can be team, but combination of that. Along the way, have there been any ups and downs, or has it kind of been a straight line trajectory of kind of into sports and then go on?
Yeah, nothing straight line when you're talking physical, because the body either reaches a plateau that you can't exceed, or you get injured, or mentally or emotionally you just sort of check out because you are no longer engaged in it. Right now, my obsession is CrossFit to a certain extent. And now I'm getting into a little bit of an endurance side. I'm going to give my 100-miler run another shot. Last year, I tried it, had a tree root grab my toe and hyperextend my left knee, which took me out of last year's event. This year, I promise I will finish. To everybody listening to this recording or watching this live. So but yeah, I've been a CrossFit coach now for 8 years.
So let's
Um,
back up and unpack that a little bit.
yeah.
What is CrossFit? What is the essence of CrossFit as kind of a fitness
CrossFit
regimen?
is constantly varied functional movements done at differing intensities. And essentially, what you're trying to do is prep yourself to be the oldest person in the gym instead of the youngest person in the retirement home. It's amazing that really we still don't accept that having muscle is key to a long and functional life, because just the ability to stand up from a seated position or a lying position becomes very challenging as you get
Sure.
older. And so losing that muscle mass is one of the primary reasons. And CrossFit, it scares a lot of people because they misunderstand what its intention is, because they look at the professional athletes and they see all of these amazing things that they can do, and they think, well, if I can't do it then I must not be able to do CrossFit. Which is kind of stupid, because I know a lot of people who still play tennis, and you can't do what Yannick Sinner or Carlos Alcaraz can do, but you still go out there and hit the ball. Same way in basketball. I just heard a story of a 93-year-old guy who's still playing on a softball team, still runs the bases himself. So again, it's not that you can't do it, you just might not be able to do it to the level of a professional. But that's never stopped me from playing. I never came close to being professionally capable, but I still enjoy it. It still scratches the competitive itch, and as long as I don't clip myself with a barbell,
Yeah.
which is what I did this weekend, which is why
Well,
I
yeah.
have
What
this nice
happened
little
this weekend?
bruise.
How'd you get the Harry Potter
So
mark?
in CrossFit, the first rep and the next to last rep are the most dangerous ones, because they're the ones that your body's not ready for. And this was bringing a barbell down from overhead on the very first rep, and I didn't get
All
my
right.
head out of the way in time, and it just clipped my head. And so I have a little bit of a mark that says, "Hey, you weren't concentrating, you weren't focused," and this will be a reminder probably for a while, because I don't heal as quickly as I used to.
Fair
So
enough. Let's bring it back to your professional world,
yeah.
kind of in twofold. I'd love to hear kind of how all these lessons, this weekend, but also growing up kind of between team and solo sports, how has that helped you in your professional career? But even before we get there, bring us into the practical world, kind of a week in the life of, a day in the life of. How do you fit in this fitness regimen? CrossFit is, pretty intense from what I understand. Do you do that on a daily basis? Do you do that a couple of times a week? Like, how do you fit that in to your busy schedule?
Okay, so first, a caveat: my
Yeah.
wife and I do not have kids.
Okay.
That changes the game tremendously. We've never had to take care of babies, of young adults, or worry about older adults.
So you
We
get
just have
very
to
good
worry.
night's sleep. That's
Right.
like,
Well, it depends. With the aches and pains of getting older, getting good night's sleep sometimes can be challenging. But for the most part, we go to bed with worries about essentially our own lives, professionally and personally. Obviously, we have family and whatnot that throw kinks into that. But
sure.
again, not having kids really changes the mathematics. And the way I work my business schedule is much different now than it used to be when I had my IT company. Because when you had the IT company, you just never knew what was going to happen. You might hear your phone going off at 2 a.m. on Thursday morning because somebody doesn't have internet and they're about to start trading internationally and what have you. So that dictated what I would do. Now, I've always made time. It's usually in the morning before the day gets started, but I
What
now,
time is that, Sean? What time do you get to the
so
gym or media?
typically we look to be at class. Our classes now are 6:45. You
AM?
asked how many times in
Yeah.
AM. It used to be 6 a.m., which we actually preferred more because it gave
Okay.
us time before the day really ramped up. Now it's kind of a rush to get going when we get home. To your question, I do CrossFit 5 to 6 times a week.
Wow.
And
All right.
now I have to start running distances 2 to 3 times a week. And those distances will vary as I build up to the 100-miler. I also do, Spartan races, some CrossFit competitions throughout and whatnot. Anything to where I'm working out for a purpose, not just to work out, but I'm trying to achieve something. Getting through a Spartan race, getting through a 100-mile race, getting through whatever. And it's the same way in business. You're sort of training yourself. You got to get through those ups and downs, because unlike fitness, where it's usually you against yourself, I mean, it doesn't matter if it's really, if you're in a team competition, if you're playing tennis, or if you're just out on a road running by yourself, it's usually you against yourself to a certain extent from a mental and emotional standpoint. And business is very much like that, because
It's a
you're
mental
having to
game.
deal with other human beings. They put the mental and emotional toll on you if you let them. But if you figure out ways to really separate your response from their response, it makes life a little bit easier, and you can better figure out how to navigate obstacles when it comes to business. Now, I talk about my tech background. Insurance, this is the same way, but it's in a little bit more of a confined space. There are less unknowables and less surprises in the insurance industry than there are in technology. Just by the nature of the business, it is more segmented, boxed in to a certain extent. So you kind of know your defined area. But in anything, when surprises do pop up, how you react to them really is going to dictate how well you handle them. And fitness and athletics are the exact same way. You have a
So,
bad weekend eating, how you
yeah.
react to that on Monday will dictate how you're probably going to be for that week. Do you continue that trend, or do you nip it in the bud and say, okay, I'm back on the clean eating bandwagon, or I'm back to eating normally and what have you? And it's not giving yourself grace. It's just knowing I hit an obstacle, didn't overcome it. Now I got to figure out a way to get back on the path. And I won't say the straight and narrow, because my eating habits, there's no straight, no narrow on my eating
Well,
habits.
I want to dive in before we take a quick ad break and go into more of kind of aligning with your fitness achievements and business achievements. I want to hear a little bit more kind of week in the life of Sean O'Rourke. And so you got 6:45, you're going to class, a CrossFit class.
Yep.
Are you running the class, or are you a participant? I mean, I guess probably both,
So
but are you
when
running?
I go in the mornings, I'm a participant. I
Okay,
coach CrossFit classes in the
that's what I meant.
afternoons and evenings twice a week now.
Wow. So how long is the class in the morning?
It's an
About
hour.
an hour? It's an
Now,
hour. So about 7:45, you're out there and, shower, change, etc., right? And then in the afternoon, you're coaching a CrossFit class. So this is very integrated in your day, Sean, right? So we're talking
oh
like
yeah,
hours every day.
yeah.
And so talk to me about how are you eating like, ideally, there are ups and downs for all of us, but what does clean eating mean to you? And like, what is the ideal
Yeah.
week for you?
So clean is stretching the definition of clean
Okay.
eating to a
Okay.
certain extent. I do try to eat healthier, but I do have my grandmother's sweet tooth.
Good for you.
So there's always sweets every day
Got it.
involved in it. And again, since we don't have kids, I can afford a nutritionist. I pay a
Okay.
nutritionist who helps me plan, especially now that I'm upping and I'm adding physical activity,
Right.
like extra running to my
So
week.
there's the morning CrossFit class. There's the afternoon class that you're coaching. In the midst of
There
this, you're
3 days a
training
week,
for
there's
the
running, and 2 of
right.
those days will be on CrossFit days. So I will
Right.
run as well as CrossFit.
Yeah.
And people don't realize you really have to properly fuel. And sometimes that means eating more than you think,
Right.
but not eating just anything. You have to properly plan out. So she's helped me figure out, okay, like tomorrow, I have CrossFit at 6:45. I will then run home to try to get in. Tomorrow is 6 miles right after class. So it's a good exercise to run on tired legs. So I'll have to properly eat before class, right after class, and drink, because I won't be able to carry stuff with me for the 6 miles. But in that regard, you properly set up and you think about your business day, it's the same thing. You have to properly plan your business day, knowing that at any time you could be throwing a curveball. But if you've properly planned, you know how to adjust as you go throughout the day then.
I can appreciate that. Speaking of eating, in addition to training and let alone coaching others, and of course running your business, you're also on the board for an organization called Pancakes for Roger. And in twofold, I'm interested in one, what's the mission, the purpose, and what is Pancakes for Roger? I think a lot of people would just be curious in terms of the name. And then from my understanding, it's around eating pancakes. How do you reconcile that with this eating regimen that you have to have? I mean, I guess you have to carve up for all the runs, but you tell me.
Yeah. No, it's a little bit of a challenge. So Pancakes for Roger was named in honor of my late father-in-law, Major General Roger E. Combs, who passed away from Agent Orange-related throat cancer in 2018. But he served 39 plus years in the military, 3 different branches. And Major General means he was a 2-star when he retired. And so my wife started it in his honor, and it's a veterans-focused organization. And the pancakes piece comes from a story a couple of weeks before Roger passed away. He really wanted to have pancakes for breakfast, but he was on a feeding tube and would not be able to swallow pancakes. And so when he passed away, my wife and I went to our favorite diner and had pancakes in his honor. And when she posted it, it sort of took on a life of its own. The hashtag Pancakes for Roger was I don't know if Susan created it or if somebody who had pancakes and then created the hashtag. Yes, Susan, my wife, sorry. And she founded the brokerage firm I work for now. So it just grew out of that. It was organic, and we became an official 501c3 in 2024, and have had great success so far on it. But yes, the name does mean we eat a lot of pancakes, especially for our kickoff month in February. I had 9 servings of pancakes alone in February. We have an event in Alpharetta, Georgia in April. That will be breakfast for dinner. There'll be a lot of pancakes around that, and we'll have other events throughout the year. So you just build it in. When I know that day I'm going to have something like that, that automatically goes in my food tracker, and then I just have to work backward from there. And hopefully those days.
So you brought that up as well. I appreciate that. And by the way, I don't want to be remiss. Susan's also an author, right? For I think, is there a book, Pancakes for Roger?
Yes, called Pancakes for Roger. She's actually, her second book will be published later in 2026, which will be about female veterans and their stories. But yes, she published a book at this point. I think it's 4 years old, if I remember correctly. But that one's more around the life lessons she's learned from Roger and other mentors that she had. I'm not being biased. It's actually really good. A lot of really good stories in there. And I could tell you the next one has really affected her, because the women veterans have some pretty powerful stories. And so it's going to be cool to see how people react to this one as well.
I want to take a quick ad break. And when we come back, you mentioned you have a food tracker. So I'd love to hear more about the food tracker, the nutritionist. I think that's a nice segue from pancakes into what you eat on a day-to-day basis, and a little bit more in terms of how your fitness regimen, your journey has really helped your business success. But let's take a quick ad break and we'll come right back. Have you ever thought about hosting your own video interview podcast? Why? Is it just to bring in more clients? Or is it to make a meaningful difference in your community? After producing dozens of video podcasts for our clients, we've noticed a few success principles. One of them is the more you teach, the more you reach. After all, hosting our own video podcast is a great way of nurturing relationships, not only with potential clients, but with our raving fans and our referral relationships that have long-term benefits to not only us, but to our clients as well. A podcast is a multiplier effect. If you're still struggling to get a foothold of wondering where your next client is coming from, you might want to start something simpler with a video blog through video socials. But if you're at the point where you can multiply on your success, multiplying 0 equals 0. So if you're already at that level where you're no longer wondering where that next client is from, you're looking forward to scaling your firm, well, hosting a video podcast can be enjoyable if you're not doing it all yourself. With video socials, you have a whole team where you can literally show up at showtime, play the role of a talk show host, enjoy the conversation with your podcast guests, and then leave all the rest of the grunt work to our staff at Video Socials to get the job done right for you. You have a choice of one of two options. You can just marinate and kind of think of the topics and be that armchair entrepreneur, or let's get going. You can choose a time for about 20-30 minutes in my Calendly. Go to vikramrajan.com. It's my full name.com, vikramrajan.com. We'll spend 20-30 minutes brainstorming what should we call your show? How's your audience going to find your show? Why will they share your episodes with others? Because quite frankly, it's that sharing that leads to more word of mouth referrals. If you're not quite ready, you can go to videosocials.net/topics and download our blog Brainstormer, and then we can have a conversation about the kind of topics that your video blog and video podcast should explore. Again, my name is Vikram Rajan. I'm the co-founder of Video Socials, and I'm looking forward to growing with you. And we're back with Sean O'Rourke. And Sean, before the ad break, you alluded to not necessarily a fitness tracker, but a food tracker. I'd love to go into that detail. If you can share, what app do you use? How do you track your food? By the way, do you take any supplements, or do you believe in that? Not really. What do you say to that?
So the fitness tracker I use is called My Fitness Pal.
Sure, it's very popular.
It's actually, it's very popular. I think it's $80 a year for it. And the best part of it is the UPC scanner, because I just scan the UPC bar and it puts all the main macros that I track, carbohydrates, fat, protein, in there. And then I have my daily numbers on there that my nutritionist has given me, and it just automatically calculates everything. And then I know how far I went over or under. I'll be honest with you, I'm hardly ever under. So I
over the macros or over the calories?
I'm over everything usually. Okay. I try not to be over on the fat too much, but actually the fat is going to be very important for me, because a 100-mile race for me is a steady state cardio, and it'll pull a lot of the energy from the fat stores. So as I get closer to October and the race itself, I'll need a little bit more of that. But yeah, and she knows I'm bad about it, and I fully admit it. But she tries to dial me back in, and she's just too nice about it. So I tell her every once in a while, you got to be meaner to me to keep me on track. But it's great. I mean, it's really helped me, because now I realize I don't have a problem with the type of food I eat. It's the quantity of food that I eat. That's the Italian in me that comes out, and that I really like to eat. I like good food. And so my wife and I kid is that we work out so hard because we like to eat so much.
There you go. You work out to eat. There you go.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. Do you believe in supplements and taking vitamins or anything like that?
Yeah, I take a multivitamin, I take fish oil, and then I take glucosamine and I take a collagen powder, because one thing, I mean, it's not a joke of snap, crackle, and pop when it comes to your joints as you get older. Sure. And so whatever you can do to keep the joints as healthy as possible, one, build the strength around them, but two, all the benefits of collagen that they've found around the connective tissues, even to a certain extent, some people, I'm not a big believer that the meniscus in your knees actually gets some benefits from collagen, but as long as the tendons and the ligaments stay as fed and as vibrant as possible, I'm all for it, because those are the things that can really start to break down quickly if you're not working them, or if you overwork them, which I sometimes have a tendency to do.
For 100 miles.
So yeah, my wife takes a few more supplements and things, simply because for women, I think there's a lot more supplements that could be beneficial to them, simply
Sure.
because their hormonal changes are more extreme than a man's. So they need a lot more care on that side to account for that, because those changes are pretty significant when you go on a week to week and a day to day basis. So anything that can help her on that front, she's all for.
And do you guys tend to work out together, or do you prefer doing it on your own, or like different
So I
schedules,
mean,
or
we're always in the same class. I mean, we go to
sure,
the
yeah,
gym
together?
frequently together. I mean, we're never partnering up, or if we do, it's infrequent, because we are both fairly competitive and we like to see how well. And my wife is more strength based, where I'm a little bit more cardio based. Susan is pound for pound much stronger with some weight movements than I am. But again, I'm a little bit taller, so my levers are a little bit better. So when there's running or rowing or biking, I usually get the advantage
So
there.
it
So
all
we like to
it
just,
all equals out at the
yeah,
end.
we like to needle each other from once in a while when it comes to workouts.
But that's great that you're able to be together through the journey, not only personally, professionally, but also in the fitness journey. And are there any business achievements, career achievements you can pinpoint to, any success you can pinpoint to as a result of your own fitness journey that's kind of been from day zero?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've started three companies and only one of them succeeded, and so in that regard, you kind of have to know how to lose on that without getting too terribly discouraged. I
Did you
mean,
learn that through all the sports stuff that you did
yeah,
growing up?
yeah. I mean, I played baseball to where if you hit 300, you're a Hall of Fame
Right,
level. But that means 7 out of 10 times you do nothing.
right.
You don't necessarily fail, but you don't succeed either. You just run back to the dugout and you've not done anything. So in that regard, obviously, you got to hit better than 300 in business. You're not going to stay around too long if you don't. And my first two startups didn't. Through the second one was just bad timing. The first one was we tried to create a market that really didn't exist yet, and unless you have a lot of money, that's a very difficult thing to do. The third one hit. I had two really good business partners. We were smart about it. We bootstrapped it, but we knew what we were doing. We got through some pretty difficult obstacles in the first few years and came out. And then after 12 years, I was serving as president of that. I just decided after 20 plus years in technology, it was just no longer the lifestyle that I wanted. It was going to get more and more difficult, which it has over the last 10 years. And
Sure.
so I just decided that that was no longer for me. And it's just by happenstance I ended up working at my wife's brokerage. That was not the plan. The plan was to go maybe start something else or find something else. And she got in my ear about something. And 10 years later, I'm still here. So
Look,
it's worked out well.
I think ultimately that longevity, perseverance, staying power, those are all lessons for business. It's all lessons that you actively live, not only through working out in CrossFit, but 100-mile journey, begins with that first step and keeps on
Mhm.
stepping. So that's tremendous. Are there any reminders, affirmations, mantras, things like that you keep in mind on a day-to-day basis for your fitness and business success?
Uh, well, on the fitness side, it came from we were when we were in New York City, we were friends with a woman who was a CrossFit Games athlete. She was a professional. And she always used to say, you know what? I go hard because I know I'll pass out long before I'll die.
Right.
So, because that's the beauty of CrossFit is that I can go to any CrossFit gym in the world. And if I say, oh, I felt destroyed by Murph, everybody will know exactly how you felt. Or if you say, I have Fran lung, everybody will know what that means. And that's the beauty. Everybody suffers together and it creates a community immediately. And it's global across languages. And that's fantastic. And
That is
so
cool.
it is, it's great. And when you look in business, everybody suffers the same. It doesn't matter what the business is, everybody suffers the same challenges. It could be
Sure.
cash flow, it could be finding new clients or customers, it could be dealing with business partners, it could
Right.
be figuring out, hey, it's 2 a.m. on a chilly October morning and I'm only 50 miles into a 100-mile run. What do I got to do mentally and emotionally to keep myself on balance and not be discouraged that I still have 50 miles to go? Where in business, there is no 100-mile marker. If you're really in it for the long haul, there's no finish line. There's just the next milestone or the next day or the next client. So in that regard, it's very similar. It's how you respond to the moment, let's say, to use a sports term.
Yeah.
It's how you respond to that, not necessarily what happens. It's how you respond to that. And I think sports, in many ways, is a great teacher if you take it seriously. Now, I'm not saying 8-year-olds have to be killers on the soccer field or on the baseball field to learn it. But if you take those lessons and you apply them to your work life, you will see there's a lot of similarities and a lot of lessons that you can take across a field of play into the field of business that will serve you well. So I do that every day. I'm not a rah-rah type of person, but I do believe that, okay, I have to be disciplined if I want to make it. If I want to be successful, I've got to stick to my game plan. And that goes both on a field of play and in the field of business. And so that's what I tend to do.
That's fantastic, Sean. As we wrap up, we'll have your contact information for not only Combs and Company, but also Pancakes for Roger. We'll have all that info in the show notes so people would be able to click in and join the community. If you
That'd be
want to give me the
fantastic.
info for your CrossFit class, I'm happy to include that in the show notes as well. As we wrap up, I'd love to hear who inspires you. Is there anyone that you know personally, professionally, in your circle of influence that keeps you going, that inspires you? You see their journey in fitness or business and inspires you to keep going business and fitness wise?
Well, I mean, I would have married her if I didn't find inspiration in her, but Susan definitely inspires me. I mean, she's tireless in and pretty much everything she does, and that's a good thing to have. Though I would like some downtime every once in a while, but okay, fine. If she can do it, I can do it. Is that
Keep
regard
going.
when and I will say this: I've followed CrossFit for years, but only started practicing it in about 8-9 years ago. And the only thing I regret is that I didn't do it sooner because I see how adaptive it is for everybody. And so the adaptive athletes who compete in CrossFit, those who are missing limbs, those who have cognitive issues, and they go out there and they do the exact same workouts that I do, just with a modification to meet them where they are, that is fantastic. And when I see somebody who can snatch with one arm what I can't do with two, that's pretty frustrating and inspiring at the same time. I'll be perfectly honest. I get a little annoyed and then I think about it and I think, damn, that is mightily impressive. So if anybody ever gets a chance, check out the adaptive divisions in CrossFit. And if you're ever feeling bad about yourself, it's a good way to put it in context that you have it pretty good in some ways, and you can do what they can do in most instances. So yeah,
That's
that's
fantastic.
what I'll leave it with.
And there are lessons to be learned and to put into place for not only our fitness journeys, but also our professional career business journey
Absolutely.
as well. So that's
Absolutely.
great. Thank you for spending this half hour with us, Sean.
I
This is
appreciate the
fantastic. I appreciate
opportunity.
the
It was
lessons that
good
you
to see
shared.
you.
Likewise, of course, as usual. Thank you again. This has been another episode of Strong Fit for Business. I've been your host, Vikram Rajan, co-founder of Video Socials. Until next time, stay strong. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Strong Fit for Business. I've been your host, Vikram Rajan, co-founder of Video Socials. You can share this video podcast through YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Spotify, and more. Together, we can be strong, fit for business.